The Brydge keyboard for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro has finally arrived, and I spent the last few days over this long weekend using it as my main keyboard case for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And so in this video, we're gonna go over what this keyboard has to offer and what my thoughts on it are so far. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications whenever we share a video. As far as looks and design goes, this keyboard is probably one of the better looking and more intriguing options because of the laptop look and feel that it gives off. The bottom portion is made up of aluminum, which gives you that familiar cool feeling when you place your palms on it to start typing. It's very reminiscent of a MacBook, which is clearly what Brydge is trying to go for here. This keyboard is actually two pieces, however. You do have the keyboard part, and then there is a nice leather back cover for your iPad to protect it from any scratches, and it has the Brydge logo on top. The keyboard attaches to the iPad by simply sliding the iPad into these little pegs that are at the left and right corner of the keyboard. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this connection method. I feel like it's kind of a struggle to get the keyboard and the iPad to fit in just right, but it is nice to have the ability to quickly disconnect your iPad from the keyboard if needed. The iPad is also very secure when docked to the keyboard. I don't really get the sense that it's going to fall off or detach itself easily, especially when I'm using it on my lap, which was kind of a problem with other keyboards. There is a little bit of a wobble when you press firmly on the screen, but for scrolling and light taps, the wobble can be held to a minimum. You also get 3 different viewing angles or modes, and this keyboard can be used in a traditional laptop-like mode. Then there's tablet mode and movie mode, which actually requires you to take your iPad out and put it back in backwards into the keyboard stand. There's also a bit of weight to this keyboard, but that is to be expected considering it's made up of mostly aluminum. And there's also an automatic wake and sleep feature when opening and closing the iPad, which is always a nice touch. I do, however, get nervous when opening and closing the iPad because right when your iPad and the Brydge keyboard are about to meet, the hinge actually gives out and it kind of shuts really hard. Thankfully, there are 2 rubber stoppers here that will prevent your iPad glass from smashing into the aluminum and the keys themselves. I'd still recommend trying to shut it carefully if you can remember. All right, with all of that said and everything out of the way, let's get to the main attraction, and of course, that's the keyboard itself. Unfortunately, I'm not totally in love with the typing experience on this keyboard just yet, and I'm not totally sure if I will get there, but as of right now, it's not my favorite keyboard to type on, which is a bit of a shame because the look and feel of this keyboard is great, and the actual feel of the keys themselves is great. The keys have a very soft feel to them, but when typing, it feels like you really need to press these keys firmly in order to register. Now, I'm not saying that you have to slam your fingers down and be obnoxious about it, but you really need to be mindful in how you're pressing them. I think the main reason why I like using the MacBook Pro keyboard so much is because my fingers can sort of gently lay on the keys and then I can glide them across the keyboard and lightly press them in order to quickly and efficiently type out what I need to type out and move faster. That's not quite the case here. I think it does get better the more you use it, but it's something to keep in mind. As of right now, my typing accuracy has fallen a little bit because I'm trying to operate the same way I would on other keyboards, and you just have to be mindful of how you're pressing these keys. As far as extra function keys at the top go, there isn't a whole lot to talk about here. You do get your standard home key and the lock key, and then the keyboard is also backlit so you can adjust the brightness levels for the keyboard, and then there's actually brightness keys for the iPad, which I believe is one of the first times that I've had this option on an iPad keyboard, and I definitely like this feature instead of having to go into Control Center or the settings menu to change the brightness level of the iPad. The rest of the keys up top are pretty standard, aside from some media playback controls and volume. You have your power button for the keyboard as well as a Bluetooth key, since that's how this keyboard connects to your iPad rather than using the iPad Pro smart connector. There's also a battery icon key, which if you press and hold will flash the LED indicator on the power button, letting you know how much battery you have left in the keyboard. 3 flashes means it's full, 2 flashes for medium, and 1 for low battery. Speaking of low battery, Brydge claims that you can get 1 year of battery life at around 2 hours a day of use on average, or 20 hours of charge if you use constant backlight for the keys themselves. The keyboard does charge via USB-C, which is nice. No need for any additional cables inside of your bag. You can just use the one that came with your iPad Pro if you want. The Brydge keyboard for the iPad Pro comes in 2 colors, space gray or silver, matching that of the iPad, as well as 2 sizes, the 11 and 12.9-inch versions. It looks as if pre-orders are now being mostly fulfilled for most of the models, and a few models are in stock and shipping right now for $149 and $169 respectively. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this Brydge keyboard. Is it something that you're interested in picking up? Or if you have one at home, how are you with typing on it? Is it something that you like, or do you prefer the style of other keyboards? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.